Hello and welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast with me, Lindsay White. I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs be great leaders, build high-performing teams, and create inspiring workplace cultures through innovative talent programs and practices. Because when people feel like they belong at work, they deliver their very best and businesses thrive. The Female Founder Friday podcast is all about connecting with the most incredible female entrepreneurs to talk about their journey to creating their own business, the mistakes they've made along the way, and how they view their own leadership. And I'm challenging all of my guests this season to take my leadership style quiz. And during each episode, we'll be digging into their leadership style and how it impacts the way they lead in their life and their business. And if you're interested in learning more about your leadership style and want some of my top tips to help you lead more effectively, you can take the quiz right now. Just check out the show notes or head over to highvoltageleadership.ca and click on the button at the top of the page that says take the quiz. Then you can share your results, connect with my guests, and join the conversation on Instagram by following me at highvoltleadership. Okay, awesome. I have a really cool guest on today's show. I have Christina Pilarski from 𝐂𝐡𝐫𝐢𝐬 Communications. And this woman is a powerhouse. She started this communications business in 2010. And she has won awards for her creativity in the campaigns that she's created for people. She works with her partner, which is also a cool dynamic in a business. And she's also an incredible mom. And I'm super excited to have her talk with us today about her journey as a female founder. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I'm super excited to have this chat with you.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I feel like we said, it's a long time coming. So I'm excited we get this time together.
This is what happens when you get two busy female entrepreneurs is you have calendars that are like bonkers. Yeah. And it takes you like 3 months to plan a 1-hour conversation. I'm sure there's other people listening that can appreciate that. So, I mean, I don't think I know the story of your journey to starting your communications business and, you know, how that, you know, what is it, 23 years later? I mean, that's a long time, but tell us like how did this all start?
Yeah. So, I mean, what's funny is that I never really considered myself an entrepreneur, let alone a business owner. When I was doing my master's degree, like most master's students, you have your job that you do, but you also have a side hustle. And so, my side hustle at the time became 𝐂𝐡𝐫𝐢𝐬 Communications. It was a way for me to pay some bills. I was, my master's research focused in on social media. So kind of the cusp of the build of social media back in the day. And so, I was able to engage at that time, mostly politicians in building social media strategies, advising them on social media. And it really was, okay, great, $500 here, $250 there, and needing that entity to put things through. And I'll never forget approaching, I don't even know what he did in university, but this guy, Julian, who made me a logo, it's still the logo today. Just these things that it's like, okay, I need something quick. I need to figure out what I'm doing. And then I did what most students do after, and you go and find a big girl job, right? So I went about my career, and I still kept this side hustle, mostly because I was really involved in politics. I had worked for government. I went into energy. So it was a way for me to be able to, play politics outside of work, provide some consulting services, talk about PR with people. But again, still, it was just this thing on the side of my desk. So, okay, Christina, 𝐂𝐡𝐫𝐢𝐬 over there. My boss at my last corporate job was incredible. She was a female leader. She had been given all the opportunities in the world because she had great leaders. And I really believe she built her team in the same way. So, here's, this, I still look back and go, this young, fresh-faced 20-year-old who's like, she goes, here's a $1.5 million ad budget. And I would go, oh my, okay. Right. but she knew, and she said, no, you can handle this. Go ahead. You're organized, figure it out, think strategically about it, go. And so, she was wonderful from the aspect of she always gave me enough rope.
Yeah.
Allowed me to run with it. She encouraged me to come to her with solutions instead of the problem. All those cliche leadership things she did well. And I remember her, she had so many great sayings that I've pulled into my business today, like commit and deliver, right? Yep. You commit to deliver, shit happens. So if it does, communicate, let me know, and we'll figure it out. Or there was one aspect, and I had to reflect on this one for years. I went to her kind of complaining about a consultant and I didn't know what to do. And she said, you know what, Christina, sometimes you just have to be a bitch. And I went, what? And in the moment, right, 25-year-old Christina went, oh my God, I think this is an HR issue.
Right.
But she was teaching me to grow that thick skin and not be afraid to drive, right? I'm letting this consultant walk all over me. I've obviously identified concerns. And the very next day, she put me on a plane halfway across the country to go talk to them in person. So I'm terrified, but she said, you can do it. Go, stand your ground. You're in the right. Fix the problem, get it done. And so, again, this crazy career path that I look back and I go, oh, that was preparing me for this.
Yeah.
Because meanwhile, she moved on, like all great leaders do. And my new boss was in the chair, and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden everyone else is changing. And I remember sitting down with my husband and I said, I don't know what my future is here anymore.
Right.
And I think there's going to be some change dictated to me. And I want to be able to take control of my path before somebody else does.
Yeah.
So I did something crazy. I gave 4 weeks notice. So good for them. Good for me for them accepting 4 weeks notice, because that was crazy. But it allowed me to get some ducks in a row, because I said, I'm going to dust this company off that I have in the background here that was my side hustle, and I'm going to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And I had incredible conversations in 4 weeks. I lined up some of my first subcontracting gigs and consulting gigs. And there I was, this kind of female founder, and almost kind of the refounding at that point of CIPR. And and then it grew, right? You kind of figure out, all right, now I'm a business owner. And, like you said, my partner, Peter, came along for the ride a year after that. And then we hired our first staff member. And, then I think somewhere in the last 2 to 3 years, I realized that I'm also probably an entrepreneur. I think that I thought, oh, I keep calling myself this founder and this business owner. And I guess I've graduated enough to give myself the title of entrepreneur too.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that's like a whole nother dynamic working with your husband. And I have met him. He is such a wonderful guy. Like, don't get me wrong. If it wasn't the Female Founder Friday podcast, we would totally have him on too. He's a fabulous human, but that's another dynamic. Like, you work in this business together every day, but it's actually your business. You started it, which I think is really cool. Like that to me is super interesting. And I love what you're saying about just embracing the idea that, I am an entrepreneur. Like, I think sometimes we identify with, I'm a coach, or I'm a consultant, or I'm a communications expert, but we actually really need to embrace that label that we are entrepreneurs. We are making it happen every single day. And sometimes it takes years to kind of make that particular coat feel comfortable, I think.
Yeah. I mean, entrepreneur just seems like this really fancy, important thing, right? I don't know. I look at, again, Christina of 10 years ago, and I think you think about like, those people on Dragon's Den, right? Like this and it took me a while, I feel like, to feel comfortable wearing that hat. And to go to your point, I built something. Every day I get up and I'm building towards something, and I'm doing something. And it's not just I own these systems and processes. It's like I built those systems and processes. And Yeah, I think especially, I don't know, but I do think especially the women I talk to, we're more comfortable in this business owner,
Yeah.
founder title than we
Yeah.
are in the title of entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
anyways, bust through it, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because I think you're right. I think the word entrepreneur does get this connotation that you have to be out there in a constant creation mode, a constant fundraising mode, right? You need seed funding, or you need capital investment, or you need blah blah blah. No, I think in fact it's like you and I have done. We've created businesses because we have a passion and that for what we do, and we have a real skill set that offers value. That's entrepreneurial too. You don't need to find the next greatest toy for Christmas to be an entrepreneur, right? I think, yeah, it's interesting how it gets that label though, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah. Well, and your journey it clearly is such an incredible evolution, which I think is really, really interesting, right? That you've grown this little baby business, kind of had it sitting over there,
Yeah.
and now it's become something really remarkable.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think too, it's easy to not celebrate. I actually just before this call was having or this podcast, I was having a call with a staff member where, you know, we're building a budget. Our fiscal just ended and we're building a budget for this next year. And I have a personality where I drive and what's next and what's the next thing and what's the next number. And I said to her, I'm like, you know what? We built something really cool here.
Yeah.
And let's really celebrate this revenue number that we hit. And let's pause for a minute and go, you know, in this economy with these, whatever, right? We did something great. And I think for me, that's probably the lesson and the part of the journey I'm in right now is, hey, you got to somewhere really interesting. What is next? And you know, this word entrepreneur, you know, obviously growth in my own company is important, but the reflection of what else could I build? Where else could I be? Where else could I put my time in knowing I've built great processes in one thing? And I think that, again, that consideration and being open to thinking of yourself in a different way. So Christina, the entrepreneur, allows you to kind of, you know, skate outside your typical comfort zone and go, okay, maybe there is something interesting next that I didn't consider before.
I really love that. I really, really love that. That we're capable of so many things. Yeah. And I mean, I do think, you know, we start these businesses because we're passionate about the product or the service. We really love what we do. But that's not all we can do. And you're right. I think sometimes it is awesome to like poke your head up, look around, pause for a moment. You know, I have other things that I'd like to do and that I'm actually really good at, right? Like I have talents outside of this thing that could be really cool that I could offer the world.
It's true. And I think for me, it's like you obviously, I built a business in communications and then marketing because I could communicate and I could market. And that's what but now at the end of this journey, we're not even the end, but where I'm at now, it's like this, oh, I'm actually really good at process. Yeah. And I'm really good at management. And oh, hey, I actually am really good at figuring out how to run a business alongside my husband. And these are all issues that other people have. And I think for me, it's been, how do I get really in tune with the people or with the questions that people ask me that aren't necessarily related to that skill set that I've put out there? So yeah, people talk to me about PR and marketing all the time, but at least once a month, someone will stop me and go, how the heck did you figure out how to work with your husband?
Maybe that comes into the mistakes and missteps section of the program. We'll get there. We'll get there. No, he's such a great dude. He really is. But that, like, for real, I mean, family business comes with a whole nother level of complicated. For real. I love that. And I want to go back to what you said about celebrating the wins, because I think for so many of us, and I put myself in this pool too, We are very driven. We're very focused. We're very results oriented individual. We are high achievers. And as high achievers, we push ourselves constantly to new levels and new heights. But to our own detriment, in that we will go to extremes, right? Our own health, our own, all of our own relationships, all that stuff. And also, we do not pause to celebrate nearly as often as we should, because there's always something like you got more to do.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we actually do ourselves such a disservice when we don't pause even momentarily and say, hey, wait a minute, this is really awesome.
Yeah. No, it's true. I had a great colleague when I first started kind of the rebirth of CIPR, when I went full time, and she set herself up, and she, again, a female founder, was doing a technical writing business, just killing it. And every quarter she would go and buy herself something extravagant. So what she had just come out of buying, like the fanciest espresso machine thing that she could possibly find for her home. And for her, that was like celebrating all she accomplished. And it was something just for her, like, obviously her 7-year-old's not drinking coffee. Her husband's out the door before whenever. So it's like, this is mine. I did really good. And now every time I have my coffee in the morning, I'm celebrating the fact that, like, I bought this fancy, extravagant thing that I don't probably really need. And I'm going to enjoy this coffee in this moment for myself. And that always stuck with me, right? Like
I like that.
The curse, buy the whatever, like celebrate yourself for sure.
You know what? And even when you talk about that every morning, it's a small celebration. Do you know what? Like, I really, not that I believe in like overt consumerism per se, but the idea that what she did purchase for her reminded her of her achievements every single morning as she made an espresso. There's something very poetic about that.
Totally. Yeah.
And is it the fancy purse? Is it the fancy coffee maker? Is it just the pair of shoes at 𝐂𝐤𝐤𝐬 that you've been staring at in the store window for 6 months, right? Or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think, figuring out what that expression of success is, and if it's something that you can remind yourself every day, more is the better.
Totally. Exactly.
I love it. So Christina's obviously a great leader, and she's taken my leadership style quiz. You can take the quiz right now too. You can compare it, see what kind of leader you are. You can check out the link in the show notes. You can go to the website, highvoltageleadership.ca. There's a little orange button at the top of the page. Ironically, it says, take the quiz. You can do it right now. It only takes a couple moments. It's fun. You're going to learn something about yourself. And I'm going to send you a couple of my favorite leadership tips that will help you be a more impactful leader right now. So tell us, what was your leadership style? Do you remember?
Yes, the directing, which I always think it sounds scary. I have unpacked my personality many times as a business leader, as we do, right? You take every assessment. So, in the DISC assessment.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm a D, so I'm a driver, and I'm like a real. So, if you've done colors, that's that red, that be brief, be bright, be gone. I'm an Enneagram 8. And so, they're the ones that kind of seem scary, but I'm always like, no, we're not scary. Like, I think that over the course of becoming a business owner and figuring myself out, it's embracing the fact that, like, you know what, probably I am where I am because I could direct and drive and get shit done when I needed to. I think back to some of the exit interviews that I would get the notes from when I had staff leave. And my favorite comment to this day was that she's tough but fair.
Yes.
And it really stuck. My husband still bothers me about this. He's so tough but fair. Like, that's what it is. But it's true. I like that leader that was my leader. She held me to a high standard because she knew I could handle it. And I think that, again, this kind of notion of you got to be fair. Everyone has their stuff and their things, and you got to support them and make sure they have the right tools to get the job done. But hey, commit and deliver, do your thing. And yeah, so it didn't surprise me that I was
fair enough. Well, right. You do enough of those assessments over the years, you kind of know who you are. I totally get that. I have a drawer full of them. But I really like this conversation because, I mean, certainly we talked before we hit record that, as a leader, you have to be you have to be able to be different things in different situations. And that's certainly, that's the situational model the quiz is based on. But you lean towards one style more than others. And that's sort of the idea, is that which is your default and then which are the ones you need to work on, right? Like we always have those. But, to me, Brene Brown one of her phrases is clear as kind. And so when I think about someone who has a directive leadership style, they are exactly as you have articulated. They give direction. They're very clear. They're generally very fair and equitable, but they are also very articulate about what they want and when they want it, and perhaps even to some degree how they want it done. And so in that sense, makes you as a leader easy to work for because I know where I stand.
Sure.
And then being able to bring in the coaching when you need it, which clearly you do that. Being able to delegate effectively. Well, you wouldn't be where you are today if you couldn't do some of that, because that's often a painful lesson as you grow a business. And then supporting people as they grow, because you had such a great example of a supportive leader, right? So clearly you bring all of those things to your leadership and the way you've led and grown your team.
Yeah, I think, being able to be agile and to recognize your default setting. So mine is
Yes.
avoiding. So when I start avoiding something or someone,
yes,
hey, what's wrong here? Right? Because as someone who's direct and directing, I'm not afraid to hit you head on with what I'm thinking but if I start avoiding a task or a client or a person, I know, okay, I've got to spend some time and I've got to dig into this because this isn't portraying myself at my healthiest. So what's the problem here? So to me too, to be able to lean into those other three styles that I know are secondary, to me, it's okay, where's my downfall? Where am I the most unhealthy in what I'm doing right now? And how can I switch gears? And sometimes it's into another style, right? Sometimes it's, playing the role of delegator because maybe I don't have the right skill set to get it done. Maybe I've thought too hard about it and it needs fresh eyes. Or, maybe it's because I wished someone else would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm avoiding it. And it's like, now I got to play the role of coach to help someone get it done alongside me. So next time they can do it. But yeah, that's for me over the past, especially a couple of years, to me, it's like, Kate, where am I being unhealthy? And that means I have to fix it. If I'm being direct, and like you said, I like that direct and kind. If I'm being direct, great, things are moving. The stuff that isn't, okay, I got to figure out the problem.
Thank you for offering that incredible self-reflection, reflection. What am I? Ruh-roh. No, I really appreciate that you recognize, where does things start to go off the rails for me? And what do I need to be thinking about when I sense myself avoiding things? But that, as someone who coaches female founders, that in that space of what are the behaviors that are getting in my way of truly being successful in my business, and particularly as my business is growing and as I lead a team, just having the awareness of that actually is a huge step forward, because you can't change it if you don't know what it is, right? So I really appreciate that the avoidance comes up, and that in itself is the signal something isn't working right. Like what is happening right now to me? Yeah. And then how do I switch gears here? Right? What do I need to be doing differently? Especially because you run a fairly sizable business. And we can't let the grass grow under our feet. You've got lots of clients, you've got lots of projects, you've got lots of people. And yeah, if you become the roadblock in your own business, holy shit, like what is happening, right?
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think too, when it comes to being a great leader, you know, everyone, I think there's this, oh, you're a great, like, you're just a great leader, right? Like, and oh, it just must be inside of you. And it takes work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Right. And to me, when I start avoiding on a staff side or a process side or a tool side, it's like, I'm not being a fair leader at this point.
No,
I'm not being someone who's fair to my team. I'm not giving them what they need.
Yeah.
So, you know, just because I have this kind of directing personality doesn't mean I love to go and have a conflict. Everyone likes to avoid a tough conversation if they can.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, maybe I got to, you know, be the boss and have a tough conversation and figure this out. And I would say, you know, 99.9% of the time, meeting it head on and getting it dealt with, you're like, wow, okay, that feels better. And you know what? Check the box. You were a great leader today.
Yes.
Right? Like, and I think sometimes that's what it takes is leaning back in and going, all right, where's the things and where's the tough conversations that have to be had? And okay, let's do it.
I love it. Yeah, that is exactly it. Right. I think you have to lean into it, even when it's perhaps uncomfortable, or it feels a little messy, or I don't exactly know what I'm doing. Like often there's no answer, there's no playbook, there's no checklist. And that leaves us feeling very disquieted because you got to feel your way through it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I love that. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing. God, I don't know if I know what I'm doing half the time, but then you reflect and you go, oh, I guess I did know what I was doing. Right? Like, I guess I did. You get into a flow state or you black out for a bit or whatever, you come out the other side and it's okay.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of not knowing and feeling our way around our businesses, where have you made mistakes, missteps, boo-boos, whatever you want to call it? And what have you learned from those things? Like being in business for this long, I'm sure there's lots of great lessons here.
Yeah, I mean, there are countless. I think that what I will say to this is where I think my biggest mistakes have been is when I've been half in and half out.
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
How I'll try to unpack that a bit. So, you know, I hate numbers and accounting and, you know, I don't know, standard stereotype of someone with an arts degree, like just fill that in there. And for the longest time, especially early days in the business, I would kind of look at numbers and go, yeah, it looks good, right? Bank account looks okay. Bills are paid. It's okay. Yeah. Put that on the card and you feel fine about it. Well, that's really half in my numbers. As a business owner, I need to be fully in and I need to understand where they're at. I need to understand the bottom line. And I think for a long time, I told myself this probably lie that was, you don't understand numbers. You're not good at numbers. You're not whatever. And then all of a sudden you make the spreadsheet and you fill it in every month and you have a really good deep dive of your business and you go, oh, I actually do know numbers. And I do know what these numbers mean. And maybe I didn't like using the calculator and having to look through all the papers and do the thing, but I know these numbers. And oops, I don't need that membership at the Petroleum Club.
Right.
Or, hey, I think we actually maybe staffed up a little too quick. Or, oh, this didn't look so. This kind of notion of half in and half out has followed me around. So
I like
this book, Traction. I'm sure you know Traction. So the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. For anyone who likes a shorter read, What the Heck is EOS is a really good one. And explains this entrepreneur system. But for a long time, I was half in, half out of that too. So kind of adopted half of what they were saying. had a traction organizer for my business and identified issues, but wasn't doing an L10 meeting and wasn't solving the issues. So you'd get to the next quarter and you'd go, oh, all 20 of my issues are still the same.
Look at that, here they are.
Copy paste to the next month. So, the intention was there.
Yeah.
But I was still half out. And I think every time I've went, okay, time to go half in and get back all on track, it's always helped me grow exponentially. And that could be exponentially from that bottom line in revenue and clients, also personally as a leader, and okay, I understand things better. But also just in my ability to make good decisions for my business. I think that when we are half in, we're just kind of in that fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And that is never a healthy place to be for a long-term win, right?
Yeah.
So go in, be confident, fake it till you make it. But like at some point you got to stop faking it, and you have to be able to understand the books, understand the business, understand what you're doing. And so because of those things being half in and half out, there was a point in time where I grew my staff way too fast. And I looked around and I went, ooh, I am really staff heavy. And this isn't fair to anyone. And I'm creating some debt over here because I'm not really looking at my numbers well. I'm just going with a gut feeling. So now whenever I stop myself whenever I say like, I feel like this is an issue, or I feel like, and it's like, no, what's the issue? Where do I need to dig deeper? If my gut is telling me something, go get to the spreadsheet, get on the ground level, figure it out. Don't just kind of feel your way through a business, right? Like that, it doesn't work. And I feel like there are definitely times where I did that and it took me a long time to clean up, right? You got to fight debt. It takes you a while to clean up as a business owner, or, the missteps of probably a staff person that you hung on to a little bit too long because they weren't getting it right. Like, I think it's okay, you feel a way, get in there, figure it out. Don't be half into the problem. Just get in there, get messy.
You know what? I really appreciate that. And particularly because I think for many female entrepreneurs, you're right, that feeling like, I don't know about the numbers, that I don't have a finance background, because for many of us, we don't, right? And again, we don't start our business because we necessarily want to run a business. We start the business because we love a product that we sell, or we love a service that we provide. And so we have to actually learn, and that's been what's hard, that's my learning curve, how to run a business, how to analyze that monthly and quarterly reporting, how to make sure that those things are aligned. And for many of us, we avoid it far longer than is really productive. So I really appreciate that. Like, half in, half out, just get into it. Don't be afraid of it. Ask for help if you need it, for goodness sake.
Totally. Yeah,
right?
No, it's true. And it's that, the age old, that thing you've been avoiding and it took you 3 minutes to do. It really, right? For me, these monthly numbers was the bane of my existence. And now I do it quickly, and probably an hour at the end of each month. And, there you go. And now I know exactly where my business is at all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I think that makes so much sense. That is so great. And I think it, actually reinforces to me that, wait a minute, it is month end. I have some work to do.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, dang. And you're right. I mean, that's not necessarily the most glamorous work we do in our businesses, but it's what keeps things running. And it's what makes us, really productive and really powerful business owners.
Yeah, it's true.
I love it. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all your thoughtful wisdom like this. I think that this has been it's been powerful for me, and I'm sure it will be for everybody who listens.
Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for giving me the platform. I always love chatting about my journey, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I sure hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. And if you did enjoy today's episode, would you do me a favor? Would you give the episode a 5-star review and share it with all of your friends? I would really appreciate that. I've got a goal to impact 1,000 female founders, and with your help, we can really amplify this message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me and all of my guests on Instagram at High Volt Leadership. We'll see you next Friday.